My name is Chris Spags, and I'm on a quest to stack up every NFL team in Underdog Fantasy's Best Ball Mania IV, $3 million to first place. You can see on the screen that I'm going to pull up right here the randomizer wheel I use to determine who I'll be stacking up in the draft that I do here live on stream. We've got 10 teams left, 29 days left until the NFL season, so let's see who I'll be stacking up today. Somebody good, somebody bad. We've got a mix. Ah, God damn it. The New York Football Giants. I guess this will be an easy one. That is a positive for me. But let's pull up that screen. I'm already in the Underdog Best Ball Mania draft room. Draft starting in 30 seconds here. The 101. People often have some fears about me not being influential enough in the best ball space, yet here I am, steadily putting up 101s. And I guess you can make the case, because we are stacking Giants. Let me put in the banner. You can make the case that I should take Cooper Kupp at the 101, and I can make the case to go fuck yourself. So, SPAGS STACKS Giants. I'll be taking Justin Jefferson once again here. But the good news with the Giants, of course, the one guy I think we really got to go out our way to try to get is going to be Darren Waller, who I consider to be a key part of what this Giants offense is going to do this year. Besides that, though, really a choose your own adventure. Could take Jalen Hyatt in the 180s. Could take a Darius Slayton and honestly the 200s sometimes. But we started off here with Justin Jefferson, and we will see what comes back to us. In the room here, we got Duke Finley, amazing Rod, short gamer, of course, one of our regulars. OMG, the icon, another one of our regulars. Zabs, Connor, another one. Perilla, Lee, of course, our guy Chad Mashke. Will he get himself suspended from the chat today? Once again, we'll find out. And then, of course, Brownie Boy and the Sentry. Ominous name to close this out here. Christian McCaffrey goes in the 2-hole. Which is not the normal for a stream draft. So we will see how that affects things here. Shout out to the chat as well. I see all you guys, long-time listener, first-time sub. Brandon, oh wait, Brandon doesn't have the membership thing? Hold on. I thought Brandon signed up. Maybe it's a different Brandon. Either way, though, appreciate you guys hanging out with me here in the chat. Of course, if you do want to get team reviews from me as well, you can do that by hitting the join button down below, $4.99 a month, and I'll review up to 10 teams a year a month. At this point, honestly, if you want to throw in a little more, I'm not going to be mad at you about it, but happy to help give feedback on what I think you could do differently, or just, to help yourself improve or tighten some things up, give yourself an extra set of eyes. Happy to do that if you want to reach out to me, if you are a Splash Play member here on the channel. But of course, we're doing 5 days a week of streams here on Splash Play to get to this home stretch. I'm excited. This is going to be draft number 116 for me. So they're going to have 34 left after this one. And really cherishing these last 34, as all you guys should. Trying to capture some guys that maybe you didn't get any shares of, an important thing to do, but also just to build some nice clean stacks, some clean teams down the home stretch. That is always the goal, I think, for your teams, and obviously down the home stretch especially. Not getting stupid, not falling asleep during drafts, not doing any of that stuff. I think going to be pristine for me for sure. Waller married to WNBA Kelsey Plum. Yes, that was, in fact, Mathology, our resident Horde Dog, commenting on that one. But I think also Waller actually had a controversy with the Raiders with that one because Josh McDaniels said publicly about them getting married, and them, of course, being big stars, didn't want anybody to know about their public marriage. But yes, Kelsey Plum, one of my favorite WNBA stars. For sure. Though Sabrina Ionescu, I have to say, if there's anybody cutting through the noise of all the social media chatter out there, Sabrina Ionescu going off for the Liberty every night does actually pop into my feed quite a bit. WNBA betting, though, that is one thing that I also have no issue with. But if you're new to SPAGS STACKS, basically we have been on a quest this entire offseason here to draft all the 32 NFL teams at random. Obviously, a lot of these teams I'm having some shares of in my normal drafts as well. So sometimes I don't get guys, and it doesn't really make me too crestfallen. Today, though, I really do want to get Darren Waller because he is a guy I'm under on absolutely. As I've talked about, he burned me incredibly last year. And I am actually at 1.1% Darren Waller overall. How does that relate to Best Ball Mania? 1.8% in Best Ball Mania for Darren Waller. So I've been low on him. Him being hurt last year, him being old, having a history of soft tissue stuff, that has scared me away. But as I talked about last week, I do think the training camp reports from him have been so good that even if you have the priors, even if you think there's some risk for a guy who is an older journeyman, who has been around the block and been hurt around the block quite a few times, I do think you have to take some solace in Darren Waller just being this good in training camp and just be willing to go there a little bit. Now there's enough signal, enough noise as well with that signal to go with it, that I think that even if you were really killed by Darren Waller, as I was in 20 to 25% of lineups last year, I do think that he is a guy that I'm willing to go back to, but definitely not as heavy. Definitely not as heavy. Yeah, funniest petty shit ever with Waller and McDouche. I like McDaniels, man. And yeah, McDaniels was not invited to the wedding and Waller traded a couple of weeks later, which honestly kind of funny. Like if you got the stroke of a Josh McDaniels and a guy doesn't invite you to his wedding and you're like, this guy's not a culture fit. Should be able to do that in normal life, just to be just to really flex that dong for everybody out there. Calvin and RB. I don't know what this means, but is that the new Calvin and Hobbs? We are on the clock though. All right, so we got Jefferson here. Is this another one? Do I just reach again for our old pal Christian Watson? We got Ridley here though. Let's not do that. We got Ridley. We got Metcalf. But we are going an extreme 0 RB here, I think. And then at least for a few rounds, maybe we'll back off of that because we can get Giants receivers late. But I think for me, as I always have talked about here, really feeling good with the 0 RB drafts where you're going aggressively after it, 6 rounds of wide receivers, maybe 6 out of 7 rounds, and then you just cut the position off entirely. Been doing that a lot more, forcing myself to do that because it is very cozy to take your Ramondres at a little bit of a discount or your Jonathan Taylor's at a discount. That is something that for me, I do think just getting yourself off the beaten path of not only just every team out there that's drafting normally, but also the 0 RB teams that are now not doing that quite as frequently this year to the same extent. Is something that I want to do for my portfolio and make sure I'm really hammering down the stretch. So that is the logic there. Spags running good. Back-to-back 1-1s. Yeah, look, I think I deserve it. I think I deserve it. Oh, Calvin and Stevenson. There we go. Oh, okay. Got it. He wanted me to take Calvin and Stevenson. Okay. I was like, who's Calvin and RBs? Is that a childlike adventure where there's honestly, I was never a big Calvin and Hobbs guy. Like the concept, not the execution quite as much. Spags, where do you think Watson would go if the Packers still had Rodgers? I'd comfortably take him in the late second personally. I mean, right now he's going 41 on DraftKings. Probably closer to the Amari Cooper range, I guess. I think that's one of those things, though, to me, where he should be going in that range anyway with what he showed. Like, Aaron Rodgers wasn't good last year, and I think that's one of the frustrating things for me is that people are like, the reason Watson had any success last year is Aaron Rodgers was there. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. And look, and I hate to, throw dirt on people, especially guys that I think are perfectly usable this year as a top Super Bowl odds team on the Jets. But Aaron Rodgers last year had a negative 14% rushing DVOA and was just a 0.3% passing DVOA guy, a negative 0.1 EPA per pass, which is a bad number. If you are a negative estimated points added guy at QB per pass, that's not a good thing. And then despite that, Christian Watson is, I've mentioned his numbers a bunch, but I'll always pull them up here because I think they're incredibly impressive. Christian Watson had a 0.47 EPA per target, 11.4% receiving DVOA. So he did this despite what is objectively not good QB play last year. So put aside your priors and the fact that Aaron Rodgers is this guy with such esteem. Maybe it's the situation with him and LaFleur just being at loggerheads for so many years. I don't know. The point being, Aaron Rodgers wasn't that good last year, and Christian Watson was still that good. So if Jordan Love is anything close to that in terms of how this offense flows, it doesn't mean that Jordan Love is a Hall of Fame QB. It doesn't mean that he's Aaron Rodgers, but it does mean that he could be a part of a functional offense that I think has a lot to prove. So that's why, to me, I don't think Christian Watson should be affected, but I do agree that Watson would probably more safely go Amari Debo range if Aaron Rodgers were there. Best Ball Mania is not a portfolio tournament. The goal is to win, not ROI. Diversify in the high stakes tournament. I don't agree with that take. Are we talking about doing like 50% of guys? Because I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I could say that again, like I'm willing to make bets on guys, but I'll use the old DFS analogy that I've mentioned on here before, where I was told by a top DFS player once that if you're going to believe in a guy 100%, they should be in 100% of your lines. If there's a 100% probability that guy will hit, put him in 100%. There's a 50% probability, put him in 50%. It should just be reflective of what you think that probability is of the guy having the outcome that you're looking for. For something like best ball, you kind of have to naturally pull that down a little bit, where Anthony Richardson could be the greatest QB in the world, and he could be QB1 even, let's say, and really drive value for all my lineups. That said, if he gets to week 17, maybe he gets hurt. Maybe that game against the Raiders somehow goes askew. There is a world where Anthony Richardson could be this fantastic world beater, but still not be a guy that wins me Best Ball Mania 4. So that's why you then dial back your exposures and say, okay, if Richardson has a 50% chance to be the super elite QB that I think can change the game of football, then it's probably a 25% thing I should take him here, because the natural flow of best ball and how it goes and the war of attrition that is 16 weeks leading into the finals, like that's what kind of decides your portfolio. So I don't believe in like 50% stands and stuff. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I know people have won with that. I would argue that maybe they got a little bit lucky with the run out for that. But it is a portfolio game. Like it absolutely is a portfolio game. It's just about portfolio in certain constructions. This is a good 0 RB room. Yeah, I mean, look, nice mix here. Again, I always like seeing, am I the only one doing it in a room? I think that certainly helps make me feel good about going extreme with it. But yeah, I feel really good about where we're landing so far. We will see what's on the board for us. Najee has a good shot of coming back. We probably don't want him. Could get an ATN share if we want. Could get Burrow. Could just go, again, full 0 RB here. The world is our oyster right now. But either way, of course, Christian Watson, not even close to coming back to me. So yeah, Christian Watson goes 37. That's why you got to reach for him. Get that 101. Reach for Christian Watson out the turn. A guy like Christian Watson doesn't have an exposure cap to me just because he's not ranked correctly. I get it. I mean, well, let's make the picks here and then we'll come back to that. All right, so we have the little bet. So I think the natural inclination for anybody in this spot is going to be to continue to deepen the bet on Minnesota. And I do it a lot to take Hawkinson here. What if instead we have our Jefferson, we let him kind of live on an island here. We instead take Christian Kirk, and I have so much Tank Bigsby that I probably should get a few shares of ATN here at 8.5 pick discount. Feels pretty good. So we'll build that out. We have ATN at running back, Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk. So we're going to try to build out some Jags and force Trevor Lawrence to fall where we want him to as well, which I think will happen because nobody else has Jags. Steven wanted Fields. Fields was there. I do think that I would have maybe considered Fields more if Fields and Moore were both there. I actually do think this is a good time right now to be taking Moore and Fields on the turn here in the 4-5. If you do get a 101, that was something I did last night with Jefferson, which felt pretty good. But I like, to me, if you're going to make the bet on Fields, you can make the bet on Fields without DJ Moore. But if you're taking DJ Moore, I think you should take Justin Fields every single time, because a bet on DJ Moore is saying that Justin Fields is going to rise a level as a passer. And if he rises a level as a passer, he's going to be an easy top 3 QB. So I think Justin Fields and Moore, to me, very well connected, but you probably need to connect the Moore to the Fields more than you need to connect the Fields to the Moore. I'm guessing your AR ownership is over 30%. Nope. No, actually that's part of why too, like I'm comfortable saying what I'm saying here about, trying to be responsible with your exposures. AR, I'm at 31% across everything, but that's also because I hammered him in one of the puppies because I was in the mood to. But overall, I do have Anthony Richardson now at 21.7%. So I imagine I'll go in with a flat 25% for AR by the time that we close out my 150 Best Ball Mania drafts. But no, very responsible with it. And my highest exposed guy, still Christian Watson, but I have him at 30%. So that's how I'm approaching things this year. And it's really, to me, why I do push back on people saying like, hey, play your guys, like get your guys. Yes, get your guys, but get them responsibly. If you start to go too heavy on it, that's how you end up overexposed to Trey Lance. How you end up overexposed to some of those guys that, were a little bit more fluid than I think I treated them as last year. Let's see. Jets tackles suck. Okay. Top 3 QBs ownership-wise, Jones, 33%, Stroud, 27%, and Fields, 19%. I do not have any QB that highly exposed. I mean, I guess I have AR more than Fields. I think the reason you're taking QBs is as a vessel to the stacks. So I'm playing that completely differently, where I'm happy to get a higher exposure on a running back, on a receiver, on a tight end. On a QB, though, like the QB is going to be derived by, the value of the people around him. So if the wide receivers go off, that QB is going to rise, and also the inverse as well. The QB theoretically being the one that generates the value for the receivers. But I think that's a mistake to play QBs that heavy personally. Maybe a few then. But it feels to me like you shouldn't have more than double the field of a QB, because you do want a taste of a bunch of different QBs, because you want a taste of the pass catchers that go with them, just to get the spike weeks. Now I'm talking about the 8 to 11% on the entire field. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. You can't cover the moon with anything. I mean, that's why the fallacy is always like, oh, you have 150 entries. Like you should win every tournament. No, because you can't cover every possible configuration. I agree with that. Like I mentioned, I'm 4% Jamar Chase. Like that's not a thing I'm dying for, but the 4% Jamar Chase is what gets me 12% Justin Jefferson, because I'm not taking Chase ever in the 101. So I'm with you on that one, but I still think overall, yes, I thought you were talking about the inverse side. And I think managing exposures is the most difficult part of this, especially because we are so so focused on the things that we think are going to be right and wanting to prove ourselves right and wanting to win money because we're right. But ultimately, like, I know there are teams that I've probably built against my better instincts, and they're just as live to win as the ones that I built with my best foot forward and the best data and all that stuff. I think just having the structure and being willing to get different players based on the ADP pockets is still the best way to do that. Who has a higher ceiling, Kincaid or Laporta? As a talent, I think it's still Kincaid. In terms of the offense itself, it's Laporta. Laporta's running with the first team and has been this entire time. There's no Dawson Knox there to take snaps away. There's also a guy in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, obviously Diggs will take targets away, but Diggs can get contested catches. I don't think they're going to feed Amon-Ra a ton of targets and like double teams, triple teams, whatever. So that's something to me where I think Laporta gains in value because of that. The ADPs obviously would say that Kincaid's the better play out of the two. But damn it, I really wished Pickens would have come back to me, but he goes at 69 here. Either way, though, I think that I would say Laporta is just in a better run out to start his career. But Kincaid, you know, these guys are so talented. Like Kincaid, Musgrave, Laporta, Mayer, all those guys I think are in the same tier to me in terms of what their run out's going to be this year. And just buying in on them in general was one of my biggest theses of the year, is that rookie tight ends going to be one of the biggest parts, I think, of what happens this year. All right, we got Trevor Lawrence falling, so that ended up working out well. Lawrence, my ideal would have been getting Lawrence and Pickens here, getting Pickens for that DK Metcalf bring back. But the good news is we do have Darren Waller available, so we'll get him. That times out well. So our Giants stack is officially afoot. I never made the GIF to salute it here. So let's see, what GIF? Good. Our Giants stack is officially afoot. There we go. Same thing, right? That's what drafting Darren Waller feels like. Darren Waller, by the way, I think you have to buy him with where the ADP is. Taking him at 73. I don't think Darren Waller should actually be going above Dallas Goedert. I think that's incorrect by the markets, but obviously, if you want to draft a guy, if you want to get a share of a guy, you got to take him where he is. And for a giant stack, Darren Waller, we're taking him where he is. There we go. Everybody gets their take at home version or their play at home version of the egg. Look, I've got GIFs, guys. I got GIFs ready to go. I just don't deploy them nearly enough because it's too many clicks on StreamYard. They don't make it like easy for you just to click a GIF and get it out there. So something to keep in mind. After doing all these best ball, after all this best ball, I feel like I'm going to smash my season-long leagues against casuals. Feels like easy money. I would think you probably should. Yeah. I mean, it is still a bit of a different game. Like, you know, a person who drafts 3 running backs in a season-long league, like, can be in a pretty well positioned overall, whether it be that they're going to trade guys to get some value in afterwards or just give themselves a floor. But I think, you know, season-long leagues to me, if you just kind of draft more of an anchor RB approach and then spam some running backs later on, I think that's going to be the way that I would try to do that more. Whereas obviously people do love doing that in best ball as well. But I think for season long leagues, like that anchor RB, probably even more important. So I would just make sure to get Bijan or Chubb. I feel like would be the two that I would really want to go to. Yeah, Bijan, Chubb, Pollard, probably a little bit frothier in season long leagues. Yeah, I think to me, if I were doing a season long league this year, I'd probably really prioritize Bijan and Chubb as like my go-to guys. That's what my 9-year-old son does to me all the time. Oh, can't wait to have a boy. Boys are my son is now 5th. I always forget it. He was born March 19th. So we are now you add on 5 to there. He's gonna be 18 months this month. So that's a thing where I am learning firsthand like what it means to have a boy. And I don't think I was the biggest meathead boy. Like I jumped off some stuff and whatever. But yeah, the running around naked, the bringing their shit to you, like that's the part I'm not looking forward to in the child rearing experience. Do enjoy him climbing things and whatever. Definitely more of a climber than I was. But besides that, not looking forward to the fecal stage. That much I can tell you. I have a lot of love QB2, like your last drafts. Love as a QB2, I think is a great pick. Young guy, still has a ceiling to hit in an offense that, again, a lot of motivation for the LaFleur community, for both brothers, even though they're not on the same team, but for Mike specifically, or Matt specifically, rather. I was reading the Mike LaFleur article that's on The Athletic. Apparently, he is now the Rams OC, and he is a guy that is going to bring all of his lessons learned from coaching Zach Wilson to the Rams. So that's why Mike LaFleur is top of my head. But Matt's certainly going to be a guy that I think really had a lot of beef with Aaron Rodgers. And I think it was pretty well spelled out publicly with how they approached that situation. Him having a chance to coach up a QB, a guy who wants to learn, a guy that teammates seem to like pretty well as well. I think the Packers can be a feel-good team this year. I don't know if they can win the North, but I do think they can be like they're my Pittsburgh bet, I think, from the NFC, where it's like young guy, gonna improve, team that kind of has to improve or things are going to change. I think that all bodes well for the Packers and Jordan Love. Anybody doing anything interesting in this room? I did get a chat from somebody who I guess was observing another guy who was in one of the drafts I was doing and was like, wow, that guy's draft was so calculated. He really, really thought about every pick, as though I'm not, which I think was the part that I take offense to. But sometimes we do have people drafting really interesting things in here. I feel like I sometimes get blind to it because we're used to having good drafters in these stream rooms. Guys like Short Gamer, I'll point out Connor as well, another good drafter. And the Icon sometimes the Icon has a 50% hit rate for me. But there are sometimes interesting drafts going on here. I'm not really seeing any. I do like what this guy's doing with Detroit a little bit. Gets Watson as well. If he gets Laporta and Goff, I would like this start a lot. Do you think Chubb is a good pick? Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is a good pick as part of a Detroit bet. I would be less inclined to go to Jahmyr Gibbs solo. There is still, though, that fractional chance that he is Christian McCaffrey is a guy that was just so good after the catch last year at Bama. But still, I think a guy that I just like a little bit less unless you're having the whole bet on Detroit. But still, I think this guy in a 12 hole. Interesting start here. Got the bring back for week 17 with Brandon Cooks. Cam Akers probably makes more sense for my team than his, but neither here nor there. I see some really horrible red shield drafters too, though. I mean, that's the thing I think the Badge Bros have said, but some definitely people who've been in the underdog streets a lot have said where you can get your red badge from drafting anything. Like you could have guys in here who only draft NBA best ball or golf best ball or whatever and don't actually do NFL best ball. So like they might be building shitty teams because it's actually not the reason they have the red badge. But also sometimes people just spend money and don't get better at things. That is definitely a possibility. So this feels like this is a little bit too elite here at tight end, but I am going to take Evan Ingram too. I think if you're going to go Jags, I do think making a bet on the team just being a monster is a bet that makes sense. And we got Minnesota, Jacksonville, Seattle. I think I just keep taking AJ Dillon because I have Minnesota. I still think AJ Dillon's a good bet though. I'm going to take AJ Dillon again. Just love the little correlation with Dillon and Justin Jefferson for week 17. Dillon, a guy too, that if Aaron Jones runs bad or, just gets hurt, he's an older guy. I think that AJ Dillon does benefit quite a bit. So there we go. Steven is not on the same page. The guys that I want to take. Do you like Charbonnet? Do not want to buy Alvin Kamara at this point. Starting to come down a little bit again in ADP, but he is just a guy that I've never really liked this much or that much this offseason. Again, you have to remember too with Alvin Kamara, if you're excited to see him start falling again because he has a 3-game suspension, it's only 3 games. You got to remember that last year he wasn't good, and also they wanted to give Mark Ingram touches over him down the home stretch. Now they have more running backs and might be bringing in another running back in Kareem Hunt. I don't think Kareem Hunt matters, as we talked about the last hour with Pete. I think that's still a player that's mostly going to be a camp body thing to replace the injury for Eno Benjamin and those reps that would go his way. But people, I think, are just too excited about Kamara when he has got a lot of mileage on him and he showed nothing last year. He was really bad last year. New to best ball, learned a lot from you, Pete, etc. Thanks, Steve. Glad to hear it. Very much appreciate hearing some new takes here, some new names. And of course, if you are new around here, make sure to subscribe down below. Please hit the like button as well. It's really just a one-man shop here. Obviously, Pete's a part of Splash Play too, but I'm doing all the legwork here on the channel to keep it going. So help a brother out, hit that like button, help us get seen by more people as I busted my ass here down the home stretch to do streams every weekday at least, and probably down the home stretch a little more on the weekends, but no promises, no promises. Spend money and not get better might be my specialty. I mean, look, you can go through DFS, sites and all that stuff. And certainly a thing that over the course of time, I've seen firsthand, people just keep plugging money, hoping that it works out, and then it doesn't. And I think with best ball too, it's probably even easier just to keep losing money year after year because you don't realize the results of you losing money until months and months later. So yeah, definitely, red badges for the most part, you should expect them to be sharper drafters, but if they're not, I definitely wouldn't be surprised, especially, with a few years of Underdog now. A lot of people have been putting money into Underdog and maybe not getting the results that they would like. Spags never misses a leg day. I've actually switched off my leg days to trying to run and hurt my calf last week. So I'm actually considering if I'm going to try to push it today. But yes, leg day, very important, guys. Having a balanced core. It's always the goal. for best ball, for working out. Anyway, Daniel Jones goes at 107, so that kind of fucked up things there. Didn't think we had to reach for Daniel Jones, but Brownie Boy felt differently. Brownie Boy felt differently. Why the fuck did he take? All right, so he just took an unstacked Daniel Jones for no reason. What is my Jones exposure? This is really a draft where I wanted to get Jones. Not enough to reach for him because he falls in every fucking room. But 6% Daniel Jones. All right, that doesn't kill me then. This wasn't one where I needed to get Daniel Jones, but that's annoying. That's annoying. Spags, I'm going to need my 3 showdown tips during preseason as well. So helpful, boy. I am not going to play many showdown slates. I did play the Hall of Fame game. Running backs, I think, especially this first week, running backs at your captain would probably be the move. Be willing to play at least 1 defense and in most lineups, if not 2 in some. But yeah, preseason DFS is not my favorite game because it's so much about beat reports and reading up on who's going to get time. And I like reading camp reports about like, hey, this guy's running with the first team, whatever. But when it's like, oh yeah, Hassan Hall is going to get a lot of reps for Cleveland here, like that's where I kind of tune out a little bit. But it's not the same game as regular season showdown, and we will be back doing the regular season showdown content once the season starts for sure. Daniel Jones has to be one of the easiest back stacks. Waller's the only stacking partner going ahead of him. Yeah, unfortunately. Fortunately, too easy, I guess. I just never see Daniel Jones going at 107 like that. I feel like that never happens in a room I'm in, so I wasn't prepared for that one here. 7 picks out of ADP for Daniel Jones is not the most common outcome, but Brownie Boy felt differently. Maybe Brownie Boy is watching the stream and he thought, how can I slightly ruin this guy's day? But it is what it is. We'll get some Giants through other means. All right. So we have Lawrence. We now don't have a QB. We're a little bit light on receiver. You know what? Here, this is a pretty fun time to do Nico Collins, I think. So we'll do that for that pick. I mean, there's diminishing returns at a certain point if I take Zay Jones as well. I do have a 1-2-5-2. Geno feels pretty okay in this build. But I think I need a running back more. I am going to take Damian Harris here. Obviously falling a little bit because of the camp stuff with him. Not a lock even to be running back 2. Not a lock to be the goal line back. Latavius Murray's looked better doing that stuff so far. But the team is giving him the run out to be the running back 2. So I think for an anchor RB build like this one, I think we just had to go running back. But not getting Daniel Jones. Unbelievable. Daniel Jones, the QB, taken most often without any stacks set up. Almost every pass catcher goes after him. Yeah, I think that's what Chad said. But yeah, I get it. It's just you take him then, like he could have taken him at 110 even. Like, I don't know. Taking him at 107 feels like an odd move for Brownie Boy, but he did it. So we'll get our Giants without him. And we'll snipe, I guess, Brownie Boy along the way. Though Brownie Boy seems like a drafter from what I can see here. We might just be drafting with no laws. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of correlation going on here. Yeah. Oh, well. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. SPAGS STACKS. Remember SPAGS STACKS in June and July, guys, where I was getting everything and it was nice and clean and no issues here in August? You are going to get sniped in more ways you ever thought possible. So it's got to accept it. Do I ever go into a draft with intent, like targeting a certain team to balance your exposures? I wouldn't say I do that necessarily. The SPAGS STACKS concept is the only time I'm ever going in really looking at a team. If I land in certain spots, I start to think about things where if I'm in the 101, I start thinking about Minnesota, Green Bay a little bit more. Certainly if Jefferson falls, then same thing. But I think for me, it's more situational where if I'm at, the end of the pick or at the end of the round rather, then maybe I'm thinking, oh, I need to get more Garrett Wilson. I need to get more. I think the turns sometimes give me a little more opportunity to think about my overall exposures, but not a thing necessarily where I'm going in with intent besides like I want to draft a zero RB team. Sometimes I do that. And then if the room doesn't give me that opportunity, doesn't give me the right runway to do it, then I'll dial it back if I have to. All right, a lot of running backs going in this range. I think Chad's team is pretty nice too. Again, Bijan and Chubb to me, just 2 first-round running backs that I feel pretty good in terms of the upside. The fact that they are going to have a little more of a better opportunity this year. Chubb because of a better team. Bijan because it's his first year being fancy Tyler Algier, and Tyler Algier himself Didn't perform like a first round pick last year overall, but relative to the ADPs, was a fantastic player and also great in everything that I look at, the EPA numbers, the DVOA numbers. So Bijan's going to be a better version of that this year. So no issue with that. Spags skinny stacks in August. Yeah. So one way I'm going to be a skinny boy is just getting sniped on players and going, here's your giant stack, Darren Waller. Round of applause. End of the stack. Gino falls here, man. Gino fell to 131. And Brownie Boy again, I'm pretty sure took him. Yeah, Brownie Boy took him unstacked. He got Kenneth Walker with him. Fucking Brownie Boy. This is why I'm more of a cookie boy personally. Fucking. Good. Third QB for him. Of course, Aaron Rodgers for Brownie Boy stacks up with nobody. When you can get Aaron Rodgers stacked up with nobody, you got to do it. This is why, too, the chat was like defending him, going like, oh, he can get those stacks late for the Giants. Yeah, I don't think that was the plan. I don't think that was the plan for old Brownie Boy. Brownie took Geno Smith a pick before James with Geno just to do it. There you go. Oh, James, you're the Century. Okay, got it. Badass name for James. Too tough of a name for best ball, I think. We like fun, silly names here. Brownie taking no prisoners. Brownie taking no prisoners or good players in a logical context. Oh, man. Well, either way, if you enjoy this stream, if you enjoy seeing me have my dreams splattered immediately on the pavement, come back. Come back and we'll do more drafts. That's my promise. There'll be a DraftKings draft this week. We'll do more SPAGS stacks on Fridays. Of course, Friday is going to be my weekly exposure check-in as well, where I go through position by position and talk about guys I'm drafting. But come back here for 5 days a week of fun and whimsy on Splash Play. The most fun you can have drafting best ball. Maybe. Some of the most fun you can have. I also forgot to put in the plug. Use promo code SPLASH too. Double your deposit up to $100 if you are new to best ball and want to get in the mix. Great way to do that. Unless Brownie Boy's in your room, and then you go, well, this best ball thing, not for me. This guy's ruined it. It's sapped all the joy from me. Okay. Good news is I do have a second QB in mind. That's the good news. The bad news is his tight end just went. So, but that's fine. We don't need another tight end anyway. Is not a player I'm going to very often. We're stacking Giants, right? Wink. So let's get Van Jefferson. He'll be our week 17 bring back. We need more running backs still, but boy, oh boy, did running back get bled out like a pig. We will take Devin Singletary for our fourth running back here. So the team so far, Trevor Lawrence at QB, Travis Etienne, A.J. Dillon, Damian Harris, Devin Singletary at running back, receiver, Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, Van Jefferson, and a tight end, Darren Waller, and Evan Ingram. So really the Jags will be the main thing driving the value of this team, which is fine. I do think if you are a big Jags believer, single stacking Jags ain't the way to do it. I think you really want to go in. And Trevor Lawrence has been good enough in camp that I don't think he should come up in ADP. I even don't think that he should get drafted in the 60s. I still think he's like a 70s, 80s guy in that same range as the other QBs that are closer to him. He's not Justin Herbert. I think he should be a tier below. That said, though, he has been very accurate in practice. Another year of him, which is always an important thing for QBs, getting that experience in. So I think to me that Trevor Lawrence, if you're going to go Trevor Lawrence's way, I think double stacking him, putting Tank Bigsby on. I did a triple stack here. I don't mind that either. I think he's going to be really, I wouldn't say target agnostic. I think that Ridley's probably going to have the biggest share, but there are going to be weeks where that ping pongs around. And I think the Jags are a really good team to kind of have different players to ping pong it around. Yeah. All this team needs is an Adam Thielen bring back. I'm in a slow puppy and this poor schmuck out of the two whole things at San Francisco Superflex took Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. Wow, it's not the way to do it, but that's drafts in August, guys. The joys and the downsides of drafts in August, that's all you can do. Another 101, the influencer of influencers. That's true. They have not crowned me yet. But I got to say, if the I don't know. I was trying to think of a fancy word to say here. If the high volume of 101s I'm getting is a sign of anything here, I am a lock to win BBM4. The most influential man in best ball right now. Though I actually did see a few fantasy analysts who were doing the thing where they tweeted their first round pick exposure. So a lot of people out there got like 11 to 12% Justin Jefferson too. So I don't think I'm alone in that. But obviously our pal Pete lacking in the Jefferson and the Chase a little bit more. Where am I at after that last draft? Jefferson numbers looking good. Hopefully Justin Jefferson can avoid a final destination style outcome for himself in the next 4 weeks. That's always what we're hoping for. I was thinking I should have taken Zay Jones. Yeah, I think adding Zay felt like a bridge too far. Like we do have Ridley, we do have Kirk, we do have Ingram, and obviously ATN as well. So I think adding Zay onto that feels a little too matchy, especially if we're trying to build out a giant stack again. Wink. But yeah, I think it's if there's any QB you could talk me into it for, I do think Zay Jones is that QB. Or Zay Jones is a player that like can be attached to Trevor Lawrence in that way, where maybe he can feed 4 guys enough to have spike weeks over the course of the year. Like we saw the ping pong spike weeks last year anyway. So can it just ping pong more? I think that's a possibility for sure. If this stream gets to 69 likes, Spags will flash nip. I don't know how many likes it has right now, but I don't think anybody needs that. I don't think anybody in the world needs that. But I appreciate the sentiment. But hey, try. Yeah, it never hurts to hit the like button and try. That's how a lot of women are crushing on Instagram, I think, is because people hitting the like button in the hopes that one day it'll just lead to a nipple falling out. But not for old Spags. These are strapped in. Got a sports bra underneath now. We are on the clock here. Definitely could use some more running backs, I think. Could use a little bit of Jalen Hyatt for our Giant stack. So let's do that. Jalen Hyatt will go. And then we have a 1472. Man. This is so far away. I just don't trust this room with the bullshit they've been pulling. I'm taking CJ Stroud here. CJ Stroud will be my QB2 in this one in our Giants stack. CJ Stroud would be great on the Giants if we want to try to do some mental gymnastics to get there. But yeah, I think Stroud to me did take Singletary, did take Nico. Could take Mechie too and try to push Stroud, but I think Stroud now, again, what we talked about earlier in the previous stream with Pete, people now knowing that Stroud is a starter, he'll be starting the preseason game. He's number 1 on the depth chart. He's been that all offseason anyway. But the fact that now people know it as concrete fact, I do think is going to make him come up a little bit more. And to me, I think he should be about in this range anyway. Like, yeah, him and Bryce going right after each other. Like that feels about right. What's my opinion on Derrick Henry? I feel like his upside is very limited this year behind the Titans offensive line. Personally, rank Jacobs, Brees, Ramondre above him. I don't think you're incorrect necessarily. I think the issue with Henry, though, is not the offensive line. It's more so just that he's so old and he is racking up more touches than any running back has, and still being productive with them. He was great last year, was involved in the pass game a little bit more. All that does bode well. But I think the real risk there is not the offensive line. It's just like the Titans are going to run regardless. Like they're going to find success running because that's what a Mike Vrabel team is. That's all schemed around for them. So I wouldn't worry about that part. I think if you're going to worry about him, it's just the age part and the fact that he's getting older. And, frankly, the fact that Tyjae Spears is brought in to do some of what they were trying to get Dontrell Hilliard to do last year, which takes some of those reps away from Derrick Henry and gives some different looks besides just smashing it up the middle and crushing everybody along the way. That's the bigger risk for Henry. But his risk is the same as any of the running backs in that range. And honestly, to me, if we're just going all the running backs, in this range, I would still safely take Bijan and Chubb ahead of him, as I've mentioned. I'd probably go Pollard over Henry, but I would take Henry over Saquon. I think I'd do Henry over Taylor, and I think I'd do Henry over Ramondre personally, which the ADPs are doing anyway, so that's not too crazy. Shout out to our guy Consigliere, a new member here. That's why I appreciate him. I knew he was strong enough to take a sparring back and forth about Dalton Kincaid on Friday, and now he is here as a member, and I appreciate it very much here. And of course, that hopefully a sign to you guys that even if you don't agree with things I'm saying here, you can push back. I'll yell at you if I disagree. if I disagree aggressively, but I still want you here. Still want you to be a part of it and embracing debate, embracing our inner Skip Bayless. That's always what we're trying to do here. No, but you will get team reviews. You can get 10 team reviews here, and I think you're going to get some fun stuff in season as well, Consigliere. I'll probably give out some exposures for my showdown lineups and all that stuff. So I think there's fun to come here as a YouTube member, but I will never capitulate on Dalton Kincaid. Not even once. Dang, I ran upstairs to grab a snack and I missed Spags flashing boobies. I did not flash boobies. I did. I'll give you guys some cleavage there. Oh no, the microphone covers it. Oh, sorry guys. Guess you'll have to keep paying 99 cents a minute to watch the stream. Hello to DX Filer. Oh wait, no, that's wrong. Hello to DX Filer, one of our pals here. Appreciate you. Always good to see familiar names. Always good to see new names. Always fun to come. Good. Way to sum it up. Rams stack, not stacking Rams. Giants stack, not stacking Giants. Bold move to fade Eagles on the Eagles stack episode. Now I'll go to my way to get Eagles. I'll do that. Because like there, you could reach for the ADPs and you could still feel okay about it. I wasn't going to take Daniel Jones at 97. I wasn't going to take him 17 picks of ADP ahead of ADP just in case a dumbass in the 11 hole decides to draft him. So I think I did that correctly. And at this point, too, like in the beginning days of SPAGS Stacks, yeah, we could reach, get all a little crazy, get a little silly, do some things that are maybe not the smartest ADP-wise. Now that I have 35 entries left, I can't be reaching for Daniel Jones too much. We are on the clock here, 2472. Obviously, still interested in grabbing some Giants, potentially. Some Carolina could make sense. Chuba already went, though. Fuck. Let's get off the beaten path here. Week 17 bring back no, not a bring back. I forgot because I actually am stacking Giants. A key part of a Giants stack, if you're fading Saquon Barkley, the rookie Eric Gray, who we could have waited a little bit later on, but I panicked. And let's grab fucking Darius Slayton went too. You motherfuckers leave no stone unturned. Kyron Williams, another running back, as part of our giant stack. Eric Gray and Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams actually getting some decent signal from camp, getting targeted downfield, getting the pass game work. I think that Kyron Williams is going to come in with a role for the Rams to start the year. Is it a big enough role to matter? I don't know. Cam Akers still going to be the one that gets touches if they somehow ever build a lead. I don't know if the Rams ever will build a lead. But Kyron Williams, I think, is a guy that makes sense to draft late here for that stuff. Oh, there we go. $2 for the cleavage shot. That is an appropriate pricing of my cleavage or non-cleavage. Can't say the F word on super chats. That is true. I think it's not a choice by me. They just don't let you do that for super chats because I think they don't want to feel like the creators are forced to read obscenities. And as you know, I hate obscenities so very, very much. JT was excused from the Colts to go seek his own treatment. That situation's a mess until they trade him. I agree. I am not crazy on Jonathan Taylor. I still thought he was okay as part of this AR process, but I've actually been down on him a little bit since all this stuff started to happen. I'm at 4.5% Jonathan Taylor across everything, and I think less in BBM. I'm at 7% Taylor in BBM, so never mind. Go Jonathan Taylor. Figure it out. Get it going. I think I just started taking Taylor, though, because of the AR part of it. I am not the hugest believer in him. I don't think he's a smash pick at any ADP that he's currently going at. But definitely it's bad signs for him. And the local media really went after his agent in a way that you just don't see that happen. And that's the kind of thing that it does feel like the team feeding the local media. If you search Greg Doyle, I think is his name, the Indianapolis columnist, he wrote up like this whole column about Jonathan Taylor's agent and is just like bashing the guy. It's so uncomfortable. And it feels a little bit like racial too, because I think the agent is a black man. Sure, it's not, but it felt that way reading it. Either way, though, bad signs in Indianapolis, but ones where I don't know that Deion Jackson is the answer. I still think it's Evan Hull if they do get rid of Taylor, but I just think they're not going to get rid of Taylor, and it's going to be this weird standoff thing, which a lot of running backs are going to face in the next few years. There's Where is this one? Who the hell is Eric Gray? Eric Gray, an exciting rookie out of Oklahoma. One of the guys that actually graded out very well, and I was surprised. I think he was hurt throughout the pre-draft process, but didn't rise at all as a result. But Eric Gray is the third stringer right now for the Giants. I guess if you want to say James Robinson might be above him, he might be, he might not be. But Eric Gray, 13% stuffed run rate, which is very low. 23% avoided tackle rate, which is pretty solid, and a 31% target per route run rate when running a route out there. So, and I was running 12 routes per game in Oklahoma last year, so he was involved in the pass game. And I feel like they certainly would trust Breida more. But part of the reason, too, I thought Saquon had to get back into camp was I think the Giants were going to quickly find out that Matt Breida, Eric Gray, whatever else they can get off the scrap heap, going to give them pretty similar to old average Saquon, who just does gets whatever's in front of him, and that's it. And I think that's the kind of player that I do tend to try to avoid a little bit more. You're worth more than that, Spags. I just misclicked on the snack machine. Now, how do you misclick on a snack machine? OG1 Kenobi, leading an interesting life. What snack did you get? Actually, I'd be curious about. Recently had the milk bar cookies from Dash Mart, because sometimes we get baked and order things from Dash Mart late at night that you could get at a convenience store for much cheaper. Either way, though, really enjoyed those milk bar cookies. Got to give them credit. Loved Milk Bar when I was in New York, but if you can get the prepackaged shit that they have in grocery stores, high cosign for me. Milk Bar ice cream and cookies. All right. Last pick here, the ceremonial last pick, 2672. I think we could use one more ring back for our giant stack to really show the fact that this is, in fact, a giant stack. Or is Terrace Marshall still here? You know what? No, never mind. Terrace Marshall's still here, and he's better. He's better than any giant at all. Terrace Marshall has the bring back for our Jacksonville. So the final team here, Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud at QB, running back, Travis Etienne, AJ Dillon, Damian Harris, Devin Singletary, Eric Gray, and Kyron Williams. A receiver, Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, Van Jefferson, and Jalen Hyatt. And at a tight end, semi-2 elite tight ends, Darren Waller and Evan Ingram. That is a SPAGS stack. Could be better, guys, and hopefully it'll be better on Friday when I come back for another SPAGS Stacks doubleheader. Of course, I'll be doing streams again tomorrow, right after or close to the end of Pete's little marathon stream with Pat Crane and Sean Siegel. I'll be hopping back on here. Might be a marathon, might not be. We'll also have a DraftKings best ball draft coming up on Thursday, so we're getting into a content flow, getting into a schedule here on the channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And of course, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Please hit that like button. Helps us get out there to new people. Helps us fight off the down voters that sometimes come when you're crushing it like we are here, drafting such sick Giants teams. And of course, make sure to draft responsibly on Underdog and all that stuff, though. I need to get rid of that FO thing. Either way, appreciate you all for hanging out with me here. See you guys again tomorrow. Enjoy your days. And of course, good luck.